You taught a very unique and underserved population of students, the twice exceptional student. So would you please talk a little bit about what is a twice exceptional student?
Twice exceptional student, if you want to look at it technically, a twice exceptional student must be identified as a gifted student according to state standards, and also have a challenge area or another exceptionality according to state standards. An exceptionality might be specific learning disabilities, it might be Asperger's syndrome, it could be a physical handicap, it could be a child with some type of a behavior disorder. So that child must come into the classroom with both of those exceptionalities.
Dennis, as you know, I found you through a lot of referrals. I heard you existed when my son was only in, I think, kindergarten or first grade, and I knew you existed, and I actually tracked you down, and we saw so many problems in school when our son was really little and first starting public school. We felt very defeated. We heard a lot of messages of he's going to fail, he can't succeed, he's in trouble again. You have to remember he had 17 four-person holds and carries at the school prior to yours. And that was so devastating for him. And it wasn't until he was playing with his little sister with a stuffed animal, and he had given her those little walkie-talkies for her birthday, and they were in the house and they were saying, "Team called to room 17, that I actually knew what that meant. I didn't even understand when the school was calling me to say he was in the office and had to go home, what had happened, all the steps before that, before he had ended up in the office having to go home. And I can still remember this little stuffed animal monkey, and he was saying, "Pull the legs harder." And then we stopped him and said, "So exactly what are you doing?" And he said, "Well, I'm the adults at my school, and this monkey is in trouble and is being taken to the office. But if it was really my school, there would be four of us. But since it's just my sister and me, it's just the two of us." And then he was back to, "Pull the arms harder. You have to pull the arms really hard." And we had just a terrible realization that we couldn't trust the school. It was an awful feeling. And going in and having to, the principal at that school has since retired, which is good. And but those holds and those methods of restraining kids and using four people to restrain them are still being used today. And those devastated him, made him afraid to go to school, made us afraid to send him to school, and then really lit the fire under me to search what were my options.
If you, Katie, were found out that you were very, very ill and you had 6 months to live, you would want to go and find the very best doctor you could find. And that's what you were searching for your son, the very best teacher or the very best program that you could find. And I think that's a parent's right. I think a parent has to have that kind of alternative and not be told, no, you can only do this. I think there's got to be that continuum of here's what we can do in this program, here's what we can do with this program, and it all depends on what does the child need out of this educational setting. And in your situation, there were lots of things going on with your son. Very, very gifted, some challenge areas, that fierce independence and stubbornness, and I say that in a very good way, because that's what's going to make him successful. I'm not going to give up. And so any school district, I think, has got to offer special kinds of programs.
I try to encourage parents that I work with and talk to not, when you hear a school employee or a teacher say, "Your child will never," and fill in the blank, read, write, do math, graduate, third grade, whatever it is, I try to encourage parents to remember that that's one person's opinion. And so if a teacher says something to a parent that your child can never, your child will never, your child is destined for failure, suspension, this isn't going to work. You as a parent have to find inside yourself that strength, that golden thread that says, no, I believe in my child.
I think a school district has to recognize that academics aren't the only important thing that involves the education of the child. There's the emotional side and there's the social side, and it's meeting the passionate side of children. As a classroom teacher, and that was always my philosophy, I had to listen to the student. I had to listen to what that student wanted, the learning style of that student. I couldn't really change the core of that student, who that person was as an individual. What I had to do was kind of follow their lead and direct them to, we need to accomplish this goal together, but how are we going to do that? So that was always my philosophy, taking into account the individual needs of the student.
You really changed the way that we even parented our kids. When we arrived to your classroom for second grade, it was like an oasis. We took your methodology of focusing on the positive and also teaching to the strength and not always trying to condemn the weakness. And that really changed our whole household. Everything was different from the first 3 months we were in your classroom. And I felt like we were all in your classroom. It was so refreshing. The classroom environment itself, just stepping in through the door, you could tell this was a place where my child can really learn. And he did. And not only did he learn, he thrived and he loved school. And it changed my world. Everybody was impacted in our house by what you did and how you taught us to look at our child. That there weren't all these problems that were insurmountable. There were all these gifts that were incredible. I think I've expressed to you time and again how great the impact was that you had on our families' lives, and certainly our student. You changed a life, and it was just from second through fourth grade, but you truly changed a life. You changed a direction that was going, a ship was sinking, and now it doesn't sink, and indeed it sails on mightily. And so thank you.